Hey everyone, welcome to our Boostability webinar. This is Christine Pratt. I'm our Content Marketing Manager here at Boostability, and we are thrilled to be talking today about mastering retention and how to operate your company like the top 1%. I am thrilled to get going on this. I just want a couple housekeeping items. You can follow along, tweet with us live at Boostability, and we have the hashtag BoostWebinar if you'd like to join us that way. You can ask any questions through that. We can also ask questions through our GoToWebinar platform here, and then you can follow along with us throughout the webinar. But first, I'd like to jump right in, introduce Matt Tennison and Amanda Price. They're the VP of Business Development here at Boostability and the VP of Marketing here at Boostability. They're going to talk us all through mastering retention and give us a little introduction on Boostability in general. So Matt, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christine. Hey guys, this is Matt Tennison, Vice President of Business Development and Strategic Partners at Boostability. Before we jump into the ins and outs and details on retention, and before Amanda joins us, I'm just going to give a little brief update on who Boostability is. So, Boostability is the global leader in white-labeled SEO for partners across the globe. Boostability is currently offering our white-labeled SEO product in 15 countries and 9 languages, and we're number one in the world at what we do with nearly 30,000 partner SEO campaigns in our platform today. I want to talk about some of the things that make Boostability special. First off is our time and our history in the space. We've been doing this for over 10 years and we know how to perform. In fact, we get a small business on Google's first page every 5 minutes. But more importantly, we perform in the right way. We focus on white hat SEO, and we focus on an SEO product that delivers a quality client experience and an ROI traffic related result for your small business clients. So on that, I'm going to turn some time over to the amazing Amanda, who's sitting right next to me, and she's going to dazzle you with some wonderful details about why retention is so important.
Fantastic. Thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here today talking about retention. We're going to cover important ground and hopefully give you a new perspective about retention. And then Matt's going to show you how to apply it to your business. So let's talk about the importance of retention. Did you know that it costs 5 times more to acquire a customer than retain one? I'm going to repeat that one more time. It costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer than retain one that you already have. Then why is it that most companies spend the majority of their marketing dollars, time and resources and energy constantly trying to find new customers? Yes, that's extremely important. That's very important. We're doing that here at Boostability as well. But people often don't think about retention until that customer is about to fall out of the bottom of the funnel. And that's when they start doing the win-back programs and anything they can do to retain that customer. That's at the end, right? So what I'm going to be talking about today is shifting your perspective and changing your mindset on retention. Retention actually starts at the beginning. And this is where most businesses miss the mark. Most businesses and most marketers and most people don't understand that in order to have a good retention strategy, that actually starts at the beginning of the customer life cycle, not at the end. It's that first touch point with marketing. The messages marketing puts out into the world about your products and services. It's that conversation that sales then has with that customer. And then when they get to the product or the service, it's that product or service and the fulfillment team delivering against that core value proposition. And then customer service comes in at the end, wrapping that customer in that warm hug, delivering against that core value proposition. But again, it's important that every single department has a hand in the game of retention and is responsible for driving a retention mindset. So let's talk about the beginning. There are 3 stages of a customer's life cycle journey. The number one thing I really want everyone to take away from this talk today is that the understanding of a habit loop. A habit loop is the most essential thing you need to do in order to retain your customers. So what is a habit loop? A habit loop is an organic situation where a customer understands and comes back to your product or service again and again. I'll give you some examples. We all know Instagram. I'm sure most of us use it all the time. I sure do. I'm guilty of using it way too much. Their habit loop is getting you to come back and log into the app again and again, take pictures, share, like, and engage. And then they use different tactics like push notifications. Hey, Sarah just liked your photo. to get you to log back in and use their platform. They're extremely effective at building that habit around their core product or service. So let's look at some other industries. If you're something like a yoga studio, you want customers to come back to your studio opposed to going to Pilates or spin or something like this. So you've got to deliver an amazing customer experience when they walk into your yoga studio from the get-go. If you're a beverage company like Coca-Cola, right? You want people to choose Coca-Cola products instead of Pepsi or Dr. Pepper or anything else that they're being presented at a restaurant or a grocery store. It's a difficult game, but if you get them to understand and care about your product and build that habit loop around it, they'll come back and choose yours opposed to a competitor. And if you're an agency, you need customers to come back to you and believe in you and believe in your products and services so that they buy more from you, whether you're selling websites or PPC or you're working with Boostability for SEO. You come back to us again and again because we deliver on that core value proposition. And now in order to get to the habit loop stage, the most important thing you need to do is you have to get the user through the activation and onboarding. Activation and onboarding starts at the beginning. You've got to put that amazing impression in the person's mindset from the get-go. The first impression is the last impression. So activation is the act of getting that user from the interest stage into building that habit loop around your core value proposition so that they are really retained and you have retention and engagement. And retention and engagement, when you do it right, fuels everything. It fuels your acquisition, your monetization, and your growth. So let's talk about growth. When you really nail retention, it ignites growth for your business in 4 key ways. Number 1, acquisition. You're trying to acquire customers. The more customers you keep, the happier customers you have. Happy customers recommend your business, helping you get more customers, word of mouth, referrals, etc. That then leads to monetization. When you keep more customers, you make more money. Once you make more money, your cost to acquire goes down and you get recurring compounding revenue and increased customer lifetime value, which is key. That enables you to be more competitive. Companies that are really competitive are winning. That enables them to have the mind share and the ability to be strategic. If you're constantly fighting customer to customer, you can't focus on bigger strategy. It also helps you jump to the next level, and what we say in marketing is crossing the chasm. And payback. Payback is the time that it takes to recover the cost to acquire. So if you're retaining those customers at the get-go, then your cost to acquire goes down and your whole growth model is lifted. So let's take a look at some really interesting statistics. I don't know if you know this, but the success of selling an existing customer, upselling, cross-selling them is 60 to 70% higher than if you try and do that with a new one. In fact, the success rate of selling to a new customer is only 5 to 20%. And this is a really hard pill to swallow. $136 billion every year in America is lost to US companies due to avoidable consumer switching. The reasons this happens is that people are not thinking about customers from the beginning. They're churning out at the end. If you start that retention cycle at the beginning of the customer life cycle, you could avoid a lot of your customers churning out and going to a competitor. All right, so now that you understand the concept here, let's talk about the top 1% and how they apply this to their business. There's some great key learnings here that we're going to be covering today. How do the top companies in the world keep their customers happy and grow their revenue? Good question. So we're going to start out by talking about Walmart. I was actually really surprised that what Walmart has been doing when I was researching for this presentation. Why is Walmart, out of all the different retailers, winning when most of the businesses in traditional retail are dying? What are they doing? They're doing 2 key things, and they're doing them really, really, really well. They're hyper-focused. Number 1, the company always stays true to its core value purpose and proposition. They constantly, effectively execute and fulfill against that purpose. And that's the number 2 big strong point. This drives their entire business model, which creates customer habits around their core value proposition, which then drives retention, which scales their revenue and success. Okay, so what is that purpose? Their core value proposition is helping customers save money, and they're dang good at it. That's translated through every department and everything they do. It fuels their whole growth model. It fuels their acquisition strategy. It helps them make a lot of money. So here's a quick snapshot of Walmart revenue over the past 13 years. As you can clearly see, the company is killing it. They're retaining customers and they are growing. Okay, so this is impressive. What they've actually done is built a retention and growth engine, as I would say, like no other. They're acquiring companies, they're building new touch points across digital and e-commerce to keep customers who traditionally went into their brick and mortars now engaged online and staying in their ecosystem. And everything they do across their whole ecosystem goes back to that core value purpose of helping a customer save money. That has turned into incredible revenue, as you will see here on the left. In 2018, they had a 3% increase in total revenue to $514 billion. And they had a 40% increase in e-commerce sales, nearly doubling the sales of that business over the past 2 years. Pretty impressive. Did you know Walmart did this? I didn't. It's amazing. So thinking about Walmart and what they're doing right is that they've really nailed that habit loop with customers, helping them save money. And this is when you really need to understand that the habit loop is the retention loop. Helping people save money brings them back to Walmart in their ecosystem again and again. And then how do they do that? So they apply tactics. So once you know what your habit loop is, you have to build out different tactics to support your channel so the customer comes back and back again. I think this is a really interesting differentiator. 90% of the population in America has a Walmart within 10 miles. Isn't that interesting? And here's where I think it's really interesting, because when you think about it in like a real life scenario, what does that mean? Let's say I, Amanda, need to do dishes like I needed to do last night, but I don't have a sponge, okay? So I can whip out my phone and order one on Amazon. I'll probably get it tomorrow, which is super fast. Or I can get out of bed and I can jump in my car and I can drive 5 minutes to a Walmart and get it today. That's pretty powerful, because that's enabled them to compete against Amazon when Amazon's wiping out so many other businesses. And we're going to talk about Amazon next. Alongside that, 257 million people shop at Walmart weekly. Wow, that's impressive. And they have 60 million items on sale. So this is interesting, because that reinforces that core value proposition of helping customers save money. So while they have 75 million different products sold at Walmart all the time, whenever you go online or if you go into their store, you're constantly seeing those deals. That's reinforcing that habit loop. You buy something from there and you feel good because you're saving money, and they're reinforcing that and getting you to come back again and again. All right, so you can't talk about Walmart without talking about Amazon, the other Goliath in the space. So when we think about masters of retention, Amazon has officially nailed it. I would say that they're probably one of the top companies in the world who've basically perfected retention. There's a lot of things you can talk about with Amazon, but today I'm going to focus about Amazon Prime and how Prime has created such a powerful retention loop for their business. So I bet many of you are Prime members. I know that I am. Once you become a Prime customer, you are 4.6 times more likely to buy products from Amazon. That's impressive, right? If you're a Prime member, you're 4.6 times more likely to buy products from Amazon. So from a marketing standpoint, once you get that customer over the obstacle of becoming a Prime member, you've got them, right? Because you then reinforce and pack a bunch of value into the benefit of staying a Prime member. You get free shipping, one-click checkout. I mean, it honestly couldn't be easier to buy something. I put my credit card in once, I think like 5 years ago, and I haven't even had to update it once. It's kind of a dream and a curse because I spend so much money on Amazon. Also, that along with Prime, you get access to Prime Music, and if you have an Alexa, it connects through to your Alexa, and you can watch movies. I mean, I am in. Amazon has got me. They've like wrapped me up, and I am retained. And then the average amount spent by an Amazon Prime user goes up annually because of that reduced friction. They've just made it so incredibly easy. So to understand what that looks like visually, more than half of the households in America use Amazon Prime. Wow, that's incredible. And it's growing worldwide at an exponential rate. I mean, they're just doing things that people have never seen before. It's pretty incredible. All right, so now that we've seen what some of the top 1% do, let's learn from some of the best minds in technology. Brian Balfour is the former VP of growth at HubSpot. This guy's a genius. And so is Andrew Chen. Andrew Chen is a general partner at Andreessen Horowitz, and he previously led growth at Uber. We all know Uber. It's a pretty high growth app with significant user retention. I used it this weekend coming back from a business trip. All right, so let's dive into this. So 4 main points that Brian Balfour talks about that I personally love is number 1, retention is the core of your growth model. We went into some of these points a little bit earlier in the presentation. I'm going to dive in a bit deeper. And when you do retention right, it actually improves all the rest of your funnels. It helps everything else spin and grow. I'm then going to jump into a cautionary tale where I'm going to get into about how it can also not only make your company, but break your company. And retention, everyone needs to know this, is getting harder. There's channel fatigue. People are getting bombarded by messages. We'll dive into that as well. All right. So going back to retention as your growth model, retention really does increase everything else. So let's talk about this. As you increase retention, you impact the components of your growth model, right? So from the acquisition standpoint, as you retain more customers, your acquisition loops will spin more frequently, which leads to faster growth. And as you retain more customers, you increase revenue, and it just compounds and grows and grows. And number 3, as you retain more customers, you then have more viral touch points, more referral opportunities, and customers then tell their friends about you, and you continue to grow organically, which is like the holy grail. We all want that. So when you think about it, it really is the core and center of this model, and it fuels the entire system, right? So as we talked about before, the more customers you're retaining, the better your cost to acquire is. The more happy customers that stay with your business recommend it, and it continues to grow. So as you see here, we have this spinning motion, and it just really fuels that. And again, this reinforces that retention mindset is something that everyone in your company should have. There's a big misunderstanding where people think that it's just customer service's job to retain customers at the end when they're about to churn out. No, it starts with marketing. It starts with sales. It goes on to product and fulfillment, and customer service should really just be that warm hug at the end, reinforcing all of that. So again, think about retention as the center of your growth model and how it fuels all your other touch points. Okay, so this is a really interesting slide. Here are 2 cautionary tales. Homejoy, they had fast top line growth, raised $38 million, and they shut down 18 months later. What happened? Fab.com, same thing, fast top line growth. They raised $150 million and got a $1 billion valuation, and then they had a fire sale 18 months later. So what happened? What was the fundamental reason? Each of these companies was founded by talented teams, invested in by some of the most prominent investors in technology. That couldn't have been it. What was it? Retention. Poor user retention is the silent killer. Retention not only makes your companies, but it can break them. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. I often hear founders and different people saying, oh, if we only had more money, we'd be successful. That's not the truth. As you can clearly see, it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you don't have that retention mindset from the beginning of the user cycle, and you're not doing tactics and making sure that every touch point in their journey is reinforcing that, you'll go out of business. So this is something that I want everyone to take away from these cautionary tales. Number 4 is that retention is getting harder, right? This is something we're all aware of because we're getting bombarded by messages daily, push notifications, email marketing, things going off on your phone constantly, right? There's so much noise. So how do we as marketers break through that noise? You have to have built that habit loop with your brand so that the customer has that affiliation, right? That trust, so that when they are getting bombarded by all these messages, they're actually going to see your brand and then click on it. So I personally like Pottery Barn. I actually open their emails, even though I get 500 emails a day. And as a marketer, you also need to understand when is the right time to reach out and make sure that your messaging is compelling and strategic so that you can break through all this noise. Okay. So let's jump over to Andrew Chen. Andrew Chen is one of the best minds in mobile growth in the industry. I love what he says here. All products not just mobile apps, have problems with retention. I think that's really powerful because it's true. Retention is so incredibly important. It's especially important in the mobile space because everything they do is numbers based. At agencies and other business models, people often don't think about reviewing retention metrics with their team, but you really should, because what they do in mobile and tech is they're constantly looking at retention rates, and there's some really staggering stats here. In the mobile space, 77% of daily active users within the first days of install don't come back. 90% of daily active users don't ever come back within 30 days. And within 90 days, you've basically lost 90%, 95% of the people who've installed your app. Oh my goodness. Think about that. You raised money, you built a mobile app, you marketed it, you spent a ton of money with PR, getting your message out there. You get people to download it, they're coming in, and within 3 days, 77% aren't coming back, and within 90 days, you basically lost all of them. Whoa, that's painful. So when you think about that, this is another crazy stat. Of the 1.5 million apps in the Google Play Store, only a few thousand sustain meaningful traffic. So companies that are succeeding in this space do something really strategic. And what Andrew Chen says is that it's, in order to bend the curve, it's all about nailing that activation in the first 3 days. If you're able to nail that activation in the first 3 days, you have a much better chance at retaining customers. And we can apply this lesson to any business that we are running marketing for or working in, right? So take that and think about that. If you want to have retained customers, it starts at the beginning. All right, so now that we've learned all about this, what I like to call this all together now, we're going to talk about putting this all together, and then Matt's going to show you how you can actually apply it to your business. So one of my biggest takeaways I want you guys to think about is that the first impression is actually the last impression. Retention begins at or before point of sale. That is so critical. It's such a shift in mindset. This is one of the big things I want you to take away. All right, so I really love this slide. So what we did here is put together a real life example so that you can understand everything we just learned. So let's say that you own a restaurant and your core value proposition is healthy salads, you're open 24 hours a day, and you have fast delivery. Great. I, as a consumer, see this claim out on the internet and I say, that's awesome. It's like 1 a.m, I'm hungry, so I call you guys and you answer. Fantastic. I order a salad, your salad's delivered really quickly, and I'm pleased with it. It's everything that I asked for. Guess what? Now I'm going to tell my friends about it, and I'm going to come back to you again and again. I've formed that habit around your product, and you've instilled that core value proposition that what you say you do, and I get that quality service from you guys. But let's look at what happens if you don't do this correctly. So a disjointed experience breaks trust from the get-go, right? Same business, let's say they have a different staff working on the night shift, and the person working at the restaurant's in a bad mood for whatever reason. I'm a consumer, I call in, no one answers, I call again and again, I'm getting frustrated, but you guys are the only ones open. Finally, you answer after 5 minutes, I order, you don't deliver it for like another hour, so it's extremely late, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm cranky. And then when I actually get the product from you guys, it's missing dressing, it's like chicken and not steak. There's no fork or napkin. I mean, I'm pissed, right? So what do? I go online, I leave a bad review, I tell all my friends never to order from you again, and you lost me, right? And you know where you lost me? At the beginning. The fact that someone didn't answer their phone for 5 minutes set the tone for my entire experience, and then the business just failed every single time across all the different divisions to deliver on that. So think about that, right? Retention really is the entire customer life cycle. All right, so in summary, it's all about the whole company and the whole team putting it together. The best way to achieve retention and scale your business is to create a cohesive customer experience across all these touch points, right? It's the promises that marketing goes out and puts out into the universe. It's then that conversation that sales has with your customers. It's then fulfillment and product delivering against that core value proposition. And then customer service wrapping them up with a warm hug, which builds that circle of trust, that habit loop, and they keep coming back. So finally here in summary, retention's really, this is a good way to think about it. One of the best ways to measure how your company is doing. You've got to figure out what your habit loop is, and then you wrap that around your core value proposition, and that's how you retain customers. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for listening to my presentation on retention. I'm now going to pass it on to Matt, who's going to tell you how to apply this to your business.
Thanks, Amanda. Hello, everyone, again. So before I jump into the main part of my presentation here, I want to talk a little bit about my background. And the reason I want to do that is because I think it will help give some context and some experience that I've gained over the years to this application portion of the presentation. So I've been with Boostability for 8.5 years. And in the entirety of my career here at Boostability, I've worked within our partner channel. And back before Boostability was a big booming company with lots of resources and people who were able to go out and do things, I did a lot of the stuff on my own. So partner acquisition, setting up of partners, training of partner sales forces, handling escalations, all things like that were experiences that I've gained over the years. And I've worked with most of the large partners that we have here at Boostability, and a lot of the partners that we acquired even as long as 8 years ago are still with us today. And so I've taken a lot of learnings and a lot of experience on that time. And what I'm going to focus on are some of the learnings and experiences I've experienced while dealing with the sales aspects of our partners and training their sales reps. Because although we work with some very fantastic, big, robust, billion-dollar companies as partners, I'm constantly surprised at the little mistakes they make with regard to customer retention. And it's literally been a huge downside to the business. Earlier in the presentation, I referenced that Boostability has around 30,000 small business SEO campaigns. And when you think about the size of the partners that we have and how many SEO campaigns a month they're able to sell and how many SEO accounts we currently onboard a month, which is anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 a month, depending on the month. If we were to have retained all of those, I mean, we'd have crazy numbers of customers. We'd have 250,000, 300,000 customers on our platform today. I mean, it would be unbelievable. And yet, here we are with 30,000, which is not a small amount, but it's nowhere near what it could be if retention was strong or stronger than it is. So that's why we're focusing on this today. And what I'm going to do is focus on some of the learnings, some of the things that partners have done well, but really some of the things that partners haven't done well, and some of the mistakes that they've made that have, frankly, been a little bit disappointing and somewhat devastating to their business models as a whole when it comes to digital product set. All right, well, let's jump into it. The thing I'm going to focus on today are 4 keys to retention as they apply to the partner space and selling digital products and retaining digital customers. First is that retention begins at or before the point of sale. So we're going to talk a little bit about a pre and point of sale strategy. The second we're going to talk about is post-sales engagement and reselling. And I'm going to hammer hard on this one because I think this is probably where the biggest mistakes and opportunities are for learning. The biggest mistakes made lead to the biggest opportunities, right? So there you go. Then we're going to focus a lot on sales training, something that's near and dear to my heart. And then product sales support is our last key to retention. All right, well, let's move on in. Let's talk about retention begins at or before point of sale. Well, I'm a big believer in product knowledge. I believe that you cannot go out and sell something that you don't know intimately and that you don't believe in and that you're not excited about. But as big of a proponent as I am about product knowledge, I am a bigger proponent of simplicity. And I believe that true mastery can only happen through simplicity, to the point where you know something so well that you are able to break it down into its most base, core, value-related elements and able to explain it to the most basic layperson possible, that you can avoid the use of jargon and fancy words and big talk and avoid confusing people because you are able to know the product so well that you break it down into its core value within seconds of beginning the conversation so that you begin literally to retain the client you're about to sell because you're driving home those value points with no confusion and no ambiguity. All right, so let's talk about something real quick. I've been out, let's see, I've been to Australia, I've been to Europe, I've been all across Canada and the United States training different sales forces for the partners that we operate with. And when we're out there, we always talk about this idea of mastery through simplicity. And what I like to do is come up with some type of a story to make it come to life or make it relevant and make it fun. And I've come up with the idea of a play on the elevator pitch. So the elevator pitch is an element of sales that we talk about a lot. To be honest, I think it's one of the most difficult aspects of sales to truly master. A really, really strong, solid elevator pitch it's amazing. And I think it's underrated, and I think it's extremely hard to achieve. But we're going to use that to kind of bring this idea of mastery through simplicity to life. So if you look at the graphic that we have displayed there, it's a beautiful couple standing in an elevator at a hotel where you might be attending a conference or just out on a business trip traveling. And imagine yourself as one of these people in the elevator, and all of a sudden someone walks in and you look up and they are like your dream person. You look across and all of a sudden you realize, holy cow, I'm standing across from my dream date. From my, like, if I could sculpt someone out of clay, there they are standing right in front of me in the elevator, and mouth starts to get dry, fingers start to tingle, and your palms start to sweat. And then all of a sudden they look over at you and they give you a little wink and they say, hey, and you say, hi. And they ask you, what do you do? What are you here for? And you say, well, I sell SEO. And then they say back, you know what? How ironic. I'm a small business owner who just started who just opened up and built my first website, but no one can find it. Can you help? And you say, yeah, I think so. And then they say back to you, well, you know what? If you can help me understand SEO by the time I get off at the next floor, not only will I buy it from you, but maybe you and I can go out later tonight too. Okay, the challenge is on. The elevator pitch challenge has begun. You have about 10 to 30 seconds in order to tell this person what the value elements of SEO are and how it can help their business before they get off on the next floor, so that you not only can earn some business, but that you can get a date that night. So what are you going to tell them? All right, well, what are you going to tell this dream person in the elevator standing next to you? Well, there's two elements to SEO, two elements that Google looks for in order to rank your website: relevance and trust. And SEO is the work that goes into making your website relevant and trusted so that it will deserve to rank on Google. We do work on your website called on-site SEO, such as optimizing the code and the copy of your website so that it's relevant for queries that might be made for the services you offer. Then we do work off your website in the form of content that leaks back to your website: blogs, articles, blog commenting, directory submissions, and other things that link back to your website that Google sees as authoritative. Every link that we do builds your authority and your trust from Google. Boom, done. Relevance and trust, website deserves to rank. There's your elevator pitch. Not only did you just sell an SEO campaign, but you got a date that night with your dream person. But there's more to it than just that. What we've also done is we've set the stage to be able to retain this client and provide an excellent client experience and an excellent client journey for years to come. By the way, Boostability's average client tenure for an SEO client in our partner channel is 23 months. So I did say earlier that partners are making a lot of mistakes in retention. However, Boostability is doing a great job of overcoming those and making sure that we retain our clients and applying the learnings that we've had over these last 10 years and being able to do so. But I want to focus on these two locks that you see in front of you here. And what's the key to unlocking these, right? Well, these locks represent to me the foundation of how, at least in the SEO world, and by the way, I know that this whole presentation on retention applies globally to all digital products. I'm only talking about SEO because it's what my specialty is, and it's the easiest thing for me to have relatable examples to, right? But the things that I'm talking about today will apply broadly to any of the digital products that you have in your suite. So relevance and trust are the core value elements and the backbone of an SEO campaign. So that's what we talk about. It's what we start with, and it's what we talk about through the entire customer journey. You need to ask yourself, what are the core value elements of the other digital products that are in your suite? Identify those and make those the beginning of your pitch. Because as we said, retention begins at or before the point of sale by establishing what these value points are. The key too is post-sales engagement. I want to start off by just saying that setting and forgetting will never win. That will never win clients. Not in the 20 years that I have been selling marketing services to small businesses, and not any time in the future. Being able to effectively go out and renew clients is the way to win and the way to retain. So the reason that I'm stressing this so hard is that over 8 years of working at Boostability and working in the partner space with them, there have literally been hundreds, thousands of times when we've lost clients or through our partners, or our partners have lost clients because they simply forgot about them and forgot to go out and renew them. I cannot tell you how many calls I've listened to between our client service agents and partners' clients, and the call goes something like this. Hey, this is so-and-so from the SEO team at X partner, and I'm calling to talk to you about calling to talk to you about your results for the campaign this month and what we're going to be planning for next month. And the client says something like this. Oh, you know what? I canceled that campaign because no one ever came out to see me, and I reallocated that budget. I've heard variations of that conversation, like I said, hundreds of times over the time I've been here at Boostability, and every single time it blows my mind. And throughout all the years that we've worked here and I've been involved in this, I've talked to sales leaders within our partner channel, and I'm telling them, guys, you've got to do a better job of going out and renewing your clients. You've got to have some type of a strategy that reminds you at critical times during your client's campaign to get out there and see them and to renew the product and to renew the contract. Most of the time, the sales leader responds to me with a statement that goes something like this. You know, Matt, that's all well and good, but my sales reps need to be focused on bringing in new customers, not retaining old customers. And I sit there and look at them with my jaw gaping open in sheer unbelief at the frank stupidity of that statement, especially when you go back earlier in the presentation and consider what Amanda said, that it cost 5 times the dollars to acquire a customer than it does to save or renew a customer. 5 times. Okay, so the idea of retention, I would say, is more important than the idea of winning new. Now, granted, when you put the both together, you got I don't know, it's not a trifecta because that's only 2 things, but you have the trifecta of 2 things, the double fecta, the bifecta.
The bifecta.
Bifecta.
Love it.
Okay. TM, by the way, no one can use that. That's mine. Just trademarked that. It's going to go big. Watch. Did anyone tweet it yet?
Yep, we're
right,
on it.
All right, bifecta.
We're on it.
Here we go. So I'm being a little bit flippant, but this is a very serious. It's a very serious topic. And the thing that I want to convey to you, I feel a little bit almost like this is elementary or rudimentary advice that I'm giving you, except for that I've just seen it abused and neglected so many times. The idea of being able to go out and renew your clients and be able to convey a value story of what's been taking place within their digital campaign from the time it started through the current time till the time that it's time to renew it again. So if you are one of these organizations that really, truly wants your salespeople focused on the acquisition of new clients, then please, by all means, set up a retention team, set up a save team, set up some type of a client services team that will do those elements. So we'll go out and proactively contact the client on a frequent basis, on a monthly basis, and be able to convey to them the value proposition of what's been taking place within their campaign all of that time. Here at Boostability, we have white label client services teams that we enact on behalf of our partners, that partners are able to take advantage of to do this very thing. And we conduct monthly or quarterly reporting calls, and we have a call center and an email center where clients can, partners' clients can proactively reach out to us anytime they want to, in addition to supplying a white label dashboard that continually and constantly in real time updates them on the success and the goings-ons of their campaigns. But these are critical elements in being able to retain clients. Key 3 is sales training. This might be the most critical part that we're going to talk about. Now, you already heard me talk about relevance and trust and how important it is to establish that in the in the opening sales conversation at or before the point of sale. But the before point of sale is the sales training aspect. Okay, so we talked about mastery through simplicity, and that begins in how you construct your sales training models. And the thing that I want to lead out with is that salespeople are not product people, and they shouldn't be, and you don't want them to be. They do not need to know everything there is to know and be experts on every digital product that you have. And in fact, I fully believe, and I'm 100% confident and correct in this statement, where it's actually a hindrance. I've sold more, this is a big statement, but I feel confident with it, that I have probably sold more digital campaigns by myself than maybe the collective of all the people that are on the phone today over the 8 years that I've been at Boostability. And you know what? I'm by no means an SEO expert or a digital product expert. I'm a sales expert because I'm a sales guy. I'm not a product guy. So what do you focus your training on? Well, those value and critical elements that we talked about before. And in the case of SEO, the relevance and trust. And why is this relevance and trust so important? Because relevance and trust is the backbone of every conversation that your client is going to have about their product from the time you sell it to the time on through the eternities that they keep it, because we're not going to lose it, because we're going to retain it, right? So here you go. You talked about relevance and trust in establishing the value at point of sale and point of contact during your first elevator pitch. Now, here's how it's going to go down in the next conversation. Let's say you're going to have an onboarding call about SEO, and the onboarding specialist is going to come on the phone and talk about, well, these are the things that we're going to do on a monthly basis, or the things that you can expect to see during the lifetime of your campaign that are going to help build that relevance and trust to your campaign so that it will deserve to rank on Google. Then your client's going to call in on month one, and they're going to say something like, hey, I want to know why I haven't seen a whole lot of movement in my keywords yet. And the client services agent is going to say, well, remember we talked about establishing relevance and trust. Well, it's like a popularity contest, right? You were establishing relevance and trust so that you deserve to rank on Google. And that just doesn't happen overnight. Google needs time to be able to crawl, catalog, and see the work that's going on, and to actually see you as relevant and trusted. And that starts to take place over time. But here are the tasks that we're doing every single month on your behalf that are building those key elements so that you will deserve to rank soon in the time frames and the expectations that we've laid out for you. Boom. You see, when you establish the value elements in a correct way from the beginning, in a simple way that's easy for the client to understand, it sets your teams who are going to be handling the ongoing relationship with the clients up for success in a way that they're able to manage the client's expectations better. So also remember this, the more simple you can keep it, the more effective the salespeople are going to be at selling the product. When they start using words like machine learning and artificial intelligence and canonical tags and schema markups, you've lost any small business owner. Yeah, well, you've lost 99% of all small business owners. There may be a couple out there who know a little bit about some things. But even if they do know a little bit about some things, then what are you doing? You're creating an opportunity for your sales rep to get in a pissing contest of knowledge with the client, and then they start debating strategy on digital application. Who needs that, right? If you don't keep your training simple and you don't keep your salespeople focused on sales, you don't have salespeople, you have weed whackers. I've seen a lot of weed whackers, thousands of weed whackers over the years that I've worked at Boostability. Salespeople who love to talk, to hear themselves talk, because they think that they're dazzling people with how smart they are about a product, when all they're really doing is confusing them and avoiding and neglecting what the critical elements are and the value that that product is going to bring to the client's business. Because at the end of the day, all the client wants is more customers. Okay, so Key 4, product sales support. Now, this is something that is near and dear to my heart. We have many partners at Boostability who are fantastic sales organizations and fantastic at selling digital products, and we have some that, frankly, struggle. And what we did to help those that really struggle with the selling of SEO and digital products is we set up a live, white-labeled product sales support product for them. Now, There are a couple of reasons that we did this. First off, we wanted our partners to sell more. But in reality, two people and a two-pronged approach is always a better sales approach than one person. Salespeople can focus on a relationship, can focus on the value and the ROI elements of what a digital product can do, and a product support specialist can focus on the details. They can focus on those more technical aspects of a product that you don't want your salesperson getting bogged down into. It also lends credibility because most small businesses are savvy enough to understand that a salesperson who is by profession out there selling isn't necessarily going to be a product specialist. But when a salesperson cares enough to bring a product specialist on the line, all of a sudden it creates a synergy, it creates a trust, and it creates a more value-centric sales setting and a better client experience. But here's how it works. At least here's how it works at Boostability. And I'm talking to you about it in terms of Boostability, that either you will explore our options with this, or so that you have a basis of how to establish it within your own organizations. But we have a team of product sales specialists. They're more product specialists than they are sales specialists for sure, who are white labeled for all the different partners that utilize our sales support. And they sit by the phones all day long waiting for the phone to ring, and they cover all the business hours that we have here across the countries that we cover. But just to do like a classic example, if I'm out selling SEO, whether I'm on the phone or whether I'm face-to-face with the client, and I get the client interested in this conversation, I give them the elevator pitch, I nail down the value proposition, and all of a sudden I find myself in a position where they want to continue in the conversation, and they're asking me, okay, well, Matt, that sounds great. How are you going to get it done? And if I'm selling to Amanda, who's sitting next to me, and maybe Christine, who introduced us both on the webinar earlier, is the product sales specialist, I'm going to look over to Amanda and I'm going to say, Amanda, you know what? Actually, what I'd love to do is bring someone into the conversation who actually knows a little bit more about this product than I do and can talk to you more in depth about exactly how these tasks are going to be applied and how we're going to accomplish the things that I've talked to you about. Would you mind if I dial them in? And Amanda's going to say, of course not, Matt, because why wouldn't I? Why would I? And I'm going to place her on a brief hold, or if we're standing face to face, I'm just going to, pick up my phone and dial. I'm going to push a button and it's going to ring in, and Christine's going to answer, and she's going to say, hi, this is Christine at SEO Services. And I'm going to say, Christine, hey, it's Matt with so-and-so. I have Amanda in front of me. We're talking about SEO. Here's what we've talked about so far. Can you pick up the conversation and help Amanda understand the real true core elements and of what we're going to be providing on this campaign for her? And she's going to go into the pitch and she's going to talk to Amanda in depth about this. And what Amanda's going to have is a fantastic experience in buying this digital product from me, because she has a salesperson who actually cared enough to bring someone in who really knew something special about the product. So we can talk about it all day long, but the proof is in the pudding. We established product sales support 4 years ago at Boostability. In the time that we've been running product sales support, and by the way, we receive around 45 to 50 calls every day into our product sales support team, and we have for the life of the product. We close 31.2% of all three-legged interactions that come in on the spot, one-time closes. That is a fantastic result. And when you implement this with the best practices that we've been able to learn and to hone over the years, you're going to have the same results yourself. And what you're really going to do, though, not only are you going to achieve more sales, but once again, because you have someone who really understands what they're talking about on the phone, you're going to set the client up for success by setting the proper performance expectations, by setting up the value elements that we talked about earlier. And once again, that's going to lead to easier conversations down the line for your client support teams and greater and better retention, which is the whole point of why we established product sales support. Sell more, retain more. Guys, that's all I have.
Great. We want to thank both Matt and Amanda for their time right now. Going in to check a couple questions as I do. Just want to remind you to follow us at Boostability on our Twitter. We've been live tweeting throughout this entire thing, so you can see some of the highlights. Also, this afternoon, we will be or this afternoon or tomorrow morning, we'll be posting this on our YouTube and on our Facebook page. And then you can follow us in addition on our Boostability blog for additional digital marketing ideas and some other things that could help you within your small business. So at this point, we don't have a whole lot of questions. We're grateful for those who have tuned in. Someone just asked, as a digital agency, can I qualify to become a partner seller? Matt, I'll let you take that one.
We're all booked up on partners, guys. Quote is full. No, kidding.
He's lying.
Kidding.
He's
yes,
lying.
Of course. Of course. By the way, Boostability has about 250 partners in our platform today, and yes, we are always taking on more. And I want to stress that not all of our partners are great, big, huge, billion-dollar organizations. Of the 250 partners that we have, 200 of those are agencies, small companies, and we service partners in size anywhere from the one-man website design agency that has 5 or 6 clients, on up to huge hosting and domain registrar companies that have millions of clients. And the beauty of Boostability and the way that our platform's set up is that small one-man website design agency gets all of the same goods and services that our large partners do, up into and including partner sales support.
Awesome. How do they get in touch to start?
Well, you can go to the website at boostability.com, and there's a partner submission form, or you can simply call, or there's also a phone number. If you're old school like me, you'd pick up the phone and call in, and you'd ask for a guy named Koa, K-O-A.
And we'll also send up a follow-up email afterwards with all this information.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll include this webinar. If you tuned in late, we'll have all the slides on there so you can tune in. We'll have any other, it'll be a place where you can ask any other questions and we'll be able to respond. So with that, thank you again to both Matt and Amanda for their time here. And we'll hope to see you all on our Facebook page, on our YouTube, and we'll post this as soon as possible.